Well, we got a lot to talk about today. We'll start with college football. The AP poll has Texas at number one. I think that's fair. But I think looking forward to this weekend, I think there's really big games coming up. I'm Michael. I'm with Micah here.
How y'all doing?
Yeah, we got big games this weekend in college football. We got number one Texas versus number five Georgia.
Biggest matchup of the day, easily. I personally would rather go to see that Bama Tennessee game. Me personally,
Yeah, we
that's
got we got that's a 7 versus 11 game.
exactly.
Um,
Uh,
Alabama coming off 2 shaky weeks. Tennessee also coming off 2 shaky weeks. Alabama winning by two against South Carolina at home in Tuscaloosa.
mhm. This game's feeling like a almost like a playoff game type of atmosphere too. The loser of this game has its playoff hopes virtually shattered, if not severely, cut in half, if that
Yeah,
makes
I
sense.
mean, yeah, Tennessee again had a scare by Florida.
Mm,
Um, that was an interesting game.
How do you feel about that Florida team too, man?
Uh,
Napier ball. Napier ball. Is it working? Is Nate
I
Allen
think I
working?
think he's gone after the season. I just think he hasn't done enough in the past couple of years
Mhm,
to do anything. So
mhm. I think if he wasn't so critical of, the fans and stuff as well, and he would have a chance, in my opinion, too, And they have a hard, like the AD at Florida has to think about the schedule they put up
yeah,
too. The hardest schedule in college football, easily, People
yeah,
say Georgia's harder, Bama. Florida is the hardest schedule usually in college football. So, but yeah, I mean, he might be out of there after this year.
yeah. So I mean, last weekend we had Ohio State, Oregon.
Huge game. Huge
Uh,
game. Costly mistake by the quarterback at the end, I mean, I would say too, like it's kind of similar. I talked to you about this like a couple days ago too. Like it's similar, eerily similar to when Dak did the same thing in the playoffs
yeah.
like two
Well,
years
there's
ago.
a still picture of Will Howard looking up at the clock while
Hmm.
before sliding.
Yeah.
He slid ahead of timeout. Wasn't the worst play.
Hmm.
Got into field goal range, but he slid about 3 yards too late. I
Exactly.
mean, if you go down earlier, you get that timeout.
Hmm.
Um,
That's all you need.
but Oregon snuck away with a big win.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, that
they're in the Big Ten. That's a Big Ten matchup.
huge win.
Oregon's number two. Now they're going today at 8 o'clock. We got Oregon playing Purdue at
Now,
Purdue.
yeah, a lot of
Now this
people
is
will
the
say.
place
Mhm.
that number two teams go to die.
Exactly. Yeah. I looked at the stat the other day. I saw it on Insta. There was like three of the last number two teams have gone into was not East Lansing. Where's Purdue? I always forget. West Lafayette.
Yep.
Three of the teams that go out there, three of the last four teams that go out there, number two teams have all died and lost their,
Yeah.
perfect records out there. So this will be one to pay attention to. I think Oregon wins though.
Yeah. I think just Oregon's. I mean, it's 6-0 versus 1-5. Like
Exactly.
Oregon's the spreads at minus 229.
I think they
Yeah,
come.
for Oregon.
I think they push that. I think it's gonna be more than 29 now.
But I think looking ahead to tomorrow, there's kind of three big games. Michigan plays at Illinois
Hmm.
at 3:30.
Hmm.
24 versus 22.
Big game.
I don't know. I really don't think Michigan should be ranked. I don't think they're that good of a football
Hmm.
team. They have a win against USC that clearly is just not physical.
No, no.
Then Michigan just ran it down their throat. I mean, that quarterback. I mean, I don't think he had more than 100 yards passing or something.
Hmm. Yeah.
But
It's the biggest matchup in.
Michigan's at minus 3.5 right
Mhm.
now. I think Illinois wins that game. I would take that. And you got Georgia, Texas.
Georgia Texas is a big battle. I did say my hot take, and this aged horribly, was that would be the second biggest battle of the weekend. I thought Bama Tennessee would be. I thought they both going undefeated, top three teams going in there and just having a slugfest. But I still think the Bama Tennessee game has more implications than Georgia Texas. Georgia Texas obviously has big implications because the winner most likely will be crowned the number one team in the country, to be honest, or at least a top three team, in my opinion. But Tennessee Bama, again, like I said earlier, it feels like a playoff atmosphere there. The
Yeah.
loser is going to have two losses going into week 8, which is wild to think about.
Well, I mean, one went into Arkansas and lost.
Hmm. Yeah.
Ran out of bounds on the final play. and the other one went to Vandy and lost.
Exactly. And
Two games that I mean, Bama the week before beats Georgia, and
huge win,
then
biggest win of the year so far. Yeah.
yeah,
hmm So, and I think one thing too to look at the teams is that people slept on. We talked about this earlier in the year. I was very high on Arkansas coming to the season. Very, very high on Arkansas.
yeah,
That was a game I said they could win, that Tennessee game. So I wish we started recording this earlier because then we had proof of this, right? But I like this Arkansas team coming in. I like them going into. It was at Tennessee that game, or was it at Arkansas?
it was at
It
Arkansas.
was at Arkansas. So that little hostile environment. Every
Like
SEC
they got
school
fined a ridiculous amount of money, and it gets paid to
to the
Alabama.
exactly. I saw that too.
Um,
The Alabama conference.
yeah, Bama's 7 versus 11 at Neyland at night.
Mhm.
Um,
I think they go out
if
there
you
and
look,
get a crazy win
yeah, I mean, if you look at the team rankings, offensive yards per game, they're comparable. Alabama's 24th with 442,
though.
um, point 0.8. Then you got Tennessee at 28 at 437.8.
Mhm.
So I mean, they're
It's
comparable offenses.
very even
I
offense, I'd say.
want so if you go look at the defense though, um, uh, team opponent yards per game,
Mhm.
Tennessee's fifth
Fifth in the country.
in the country,
Mm.
and you go down, and I'm still scrolling here to find Alabama. Alabama's 36th.
36. That's a big, especially in
So
the SEC. That's a
that's
very
where
big
it's going to
difference.
be. It will be. I don't think it will be an offensive shootout. I think.
You're gonna be a war in the trenches, basically.
I think it won't be over the top. I think a lot of points will be scored,
Mm.
but it won't be like taking the top off every play. I
Mm.
think
You don't think Ryan Williams is gonna catch 4 touchdowns
no, I don't think
baby
so. I
hard?
think
Hmm I agree
I
with
mean
that.
Tennessee the fifth best off like, allows the fifth less amount least amount of yards in
Mhm.
the
Do you have
country.
a read on the strength of schedule? Think you can get that up too? Because I think strength of
Um,
schedule plays a part too. I feel like when you
yeah,
get
but I mean think about it. Tennessee's in the SEC, right?
Mhm.
Like I don't really care. Like we can see that teams just don't show up against
It's the Volunteers.
yeah,
Hmm
against like group of five teams.
Yeah. Uh,
Um, so I mean, I think that defense will be a big part of that game. Just about whose defense can get off the field faster.
Yeah.
I think both these offenses are high powered, even though their offensive yards are down a little bit.
hmm
I think you can argue these are two of the most explosive offenses in the
Easily,
country.
easily two of the most explosive, and it's gonna be cool to see again because there's a chance that again Bama's supposed to go play LSU, right? So if Bama loses this game and loses to LSU, I think they're still a top 10 team, but they're not going to be ranked top 10 because that's 3 losses.
Yep.
They can still go out and lose out
So
on both of those games.
I personally I think Bama on the line on ESPN here is minus 4.5, I believe. Let's see.
Yeah, check on that.
Bama's -3, so it's gone down. Correction, it's not at night in Neyland. It's at 3:30.
3:30 game.
No, it should be at night,
It should
whatever.
have that game. Yeah, yeah. It just feels like that. I feel like not seeing that game at night just kind of hurts a little bit.
Um,
Hmm
I I have Tennessee covering that. I think Tennessee wins, but
hmm
the over's at 56.5, so bettors are obviously seeing that there'll be a lot of points scored, but not like 35 points
No,
each,
no, it's not going to
something
be
like
for.
that.
It's not going to be.
42-40. I think we're looking at maybe a 28-31 ball game.
Exactly. That's much more fair.
Um, and shifting gears, see on the screen, number 3 on Texas, Quinn Ewers returned last week against Oklahoma. Had a tough first drive, threw an interception,
Mm.
uh, but they dominated Oklahoma. In that,
They did.
I
That
mean,
was 34-3. Oklahoma looked pitiful, and we knew they did not really have an offense of some sort.
I thought their defense would keep them in though.
I thought it would too, and I mean it did for the first little bit. That first quarter was what was it 3-0 or 6-3 or something like that? I really thought their defense was going to be keeping them in shape, and then they could get what was the name of their rookie quarterback? Let's see, but I thought their rookie or their freshman quarterback would keep them in the game
Yep.
for a large
But
amount.
I mean, so I went and looked again at the offensive ratings, yards per game. Texas ranks number one at like just offensive efficiency.
Overall in the country.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um,
And to have a big, this is a ranked opponent. This isn't
I'm
your
sorry. No. Texas is not ranked. They rank number one in defensive. So
Okay.
Texas is number six in the country in
That's
offensive
still
efficiency,
insane, you know.
and so Texas gives up 229 yards a game defensively, and
Mm.
is basically 500 yards offensively at 495.
That includes the Oklahoma game. So and
Mhm.
that's a big, or excuse me, that's a Power Five school. This isn't
An SEC
LSU.
matchup.
Exactly, you know, and people are gonna look at Oklahoma and say, "Oh, they weren't a legitimate team." This is the first time in the last like 6 years, 7 years, we could say Oklahoma as a defense. Like,
Yep.
who would have ever thought we said that? And Oklahoma's a very good defense. They put some fear in Tennessee in that first half when they played each other, you know. But I mean, I think they'll bounce back. You know, they'll be fine. I liked the first half that their quarterback put together. What was his name? Hawkins, last name Hawkins. I think it was Mike Hawkins, I believe. Michael Hawkins, yes. I like the first half he put together. Most of his yards were in the first half. He went 19 for 30, 104.8 efficiency rating, no picks, you know. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, I think he has potential to grow. I don't remember the name of the other quarterback for Oklahoma, and I know he was in the second half. He was
Yeah.
in the second half of the game. What was, do you know his name? The second
No.
quarterback of the game? Let's
Yeah,
see.
it's gonna be interesting. I just think Texas is the better team than Georgia,
Hmm.
which is not something you would hear usually. Um, but yeah. So I mean, yeah, I think this is gonna be interesting. I mean,
That game's a toss-up.
it's
100% a toss-up, and the winner.
when's the last time you saw Georgia not favored to win a
This
football
is the
game
first time it
in
said it was
forever?
52 strict consecutive games that Georgia's not been an underdog. The first time they've been dogs in 52
I mean, this
games.
is at night
Mhm.
at Texas.
Not at Texas. This is as real as it gets,
I
you know.
mean, Texas is 4.5 point
Mhm.
favorites, total at 56.5. So
If Texas wins,
those defenses
mhm,
are
they're
amazing.
tough. They're very,
I mean,
very
we saw
tough, you know.
Texas arguably has, if not the best defense in the country. Um, and you got Georgia where they've offensively not there. They're at number 23, a little bit better than Alabama.
Exactly. And I think too those numbers are gonna be a little inflated too because that Georgia Bama game was just two powerhouses duking it out. So those numbers are gonna be a little inflated, I'd say too. If Texas wins this game, they come in and they show they are. I'm not gonna say kings of the SEC because again, like I would say, like Sarkisian's not gonna say he's the king of the SEC because again, DeVore did beat him last year in the playoff.
Yeah.
But they show they're more than ready for conference play in the SEC. All the SEC haters, you have nothing to say anymore. You know, you have nothing to say or do. If Georgia comes in and wins, it shows how topsy turvy the SEC
Yeah.
really is. The fact that you can lose to Bama and then beat Georgia 2 weeks later, huge comeback. It makes the dogs look like that was a fluke game by losing to
Yeah.
Bama.
I mean, I think this is going to be the biggest game. Don't miss it. It's going to be one of the best games that you're going to have in this year,
Easily,
honestly.
easily. Mm.
Because it's got, this matchup's not going to happen outside of the national championship or this,
No,
and it's not going to happen on campus
you don't see this matchup happening in the
in
best.
Texas. Like
Exactly.
you get maybe at a Dallas, like in the Cotton Bowl, but
Exactly.
you're not going to get on University of Texas
No,
campus, and that's just that place is going to be
you're
bumping
not going to get
on
a game
Saturday
of
night.
this quality in mid-October.
Yeah.
The only game you get close to that is
Alabama and Tennessee.
that's the closest you're going to
I
get to it.
mean,
You know. And that game has been marquee every year for the last 3, 4 years
yeah,
too. So, and I expect this one to be just as marquee as the other games. You know.
yeah.
But yeah,
Um,
let's
so,
look at a local stance too. You know,
yeah,
we're
I
both
think
Carolina fans. You know.
it's been a rough year to be a UNC fan.
Mhm.
Uh, it's been a rough year, other than to be a Duke fan in the Triangle.
Yes.
Uh,
Football
Duke's
wise.
got FSU at home tonight.
Hmm.
Uh, we had again another FSU fan say he would eat dog crap out
Yeah.
of a red Solo cup if they lose. On social media, I don't know if you guys know this. An account by the name 321 Noel uh, said he would eat dog crap out of a red Solo cup if they lost to Boston College. FSU lost to Boston College. He deleted his account.
Hmm.
Now, since then, people say FSU is now cursed because he didn't listen.
Hmm.
He didn't come through with his promise. So this dude said if FSU loses to Duke, he will eat dog crap out of a cup.
And it's funny because I think Duke's gonna beat the
Yeah,
brakes off.
Duke's. But funny, Duke's only 3-point favorite.
Exactly.
Um,
Because it is Duke football, you know. And they've had every win they've had this year, their 5 wins has all been,
yeah,
it's not been convincing. They've been roughhoused wins. Florida State cannot win it when it's rough. They couldn't beat Memphis in the rough. They couldn't beat Georgia Tech in the rough. They couldn't beat Virginia
no,
Tech in the rough. So they cannot win games.
I mean they beat what Cal by 5,
Yeah,
something
something like
like
that,
that.
yeah. They cannot win games when they are rough and going. Like that's something that's been proven. And if you can't win rough, especially in a conference like the ACC or the Big Ten, you're not going anywhere. And that's been more than shown by Florida State's 1-5 record, you know.
Another local game. We got NC State at Cal on Saturday.
Mm.
Cal's gonna win that game.
Yeah, I assume so.
Cal's minus 10.5.
Mm.
NC State is 0 for 7 on the year in the spread.
Yeah, and Cal
They have
looked
not
very
covered the
good.
spread. They have played Western Carolina,
Mm.
not covered the spread. They have played University of Louisiana,
Mm.
Lafayette, and not covered it.
They got socked in the face last week by Syracuse for a little bit against
Yeah,
the Syracuse team.
the
It
the
didn't look
score
that
the
good.
score the score didn't really.
Reflect
We
the
were at that
nature of the
game.
game.
It's 24-17, I believe. Syracuse really won by more than 7.
Hmm.
That whole game was just dominated. I mean, NC State just can't move the ball.
McCord looked very good in that
Yeah,
game. It showed you that difference level between the Big Ten and the ACC
yeah.
in terms of quality of quarterback and
Uh,
what they're used to.
so that's really the week. North Carolina's got off this week.
Hmm.
Don't have to stress
Yes,
this
much
week.
needed break.
Um,
The ACC matchup to look forward to, I'd say, would probably there's two of them. Actually, you can say three of them. Miami versus Louisville. I think Louisville had a little bit of a slump going on. They were ranked going in a top 15
yeah,
team. A little bit of a slump going on. Can they turn around against Miami? This Miami team's had a number, probably three scares
yeah,
this season. And they're a top six, well, they're sixth in the country. They're a top 10 team. I
yeah.
think they're very good, but can they survive a Louisville
Best
team?
offense in the country, though.
I know. We'll see if they can survive this week. Another good game will be Virginia Clemson. How good is this Virginia team?
I don't think this Virginia game in Clemson. Clemson is riding a hot wave. What are they, minus 21-point
Mhm.
favorites?
Exactly.
I don't know if Clemson will win by 20. This is in Death Valley. Virginia does not win this game. They
Hmm.
don't go into Death Valley and beat Clemson.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
I don't see it either. The third
So
game of the week that's really, and again, one of these teams is the ACC. They might as well should be. But Georgia Tech, Notre Dame. Can Georgia Tech upset the Irish and
yeah,
kill their playoff hopes?
yeah. Um, I don't know.
I
That'll be
mean,
interesting.
I think this Georgia Tech team, a lot of people, I was one of the people that said going in when they're playing Florida State, this Georgia Tech team's pretty good. A lot of
Yeah,
people thought, nah, you're crazy, you're nuts. And I mean, they've really turned their program
they're
around.
four. Are they 4-2, 5-2? What are they?
5-2 right now, yeah,
Yeah.
5-2.
So that should be an interesting game. I do want to shift looking really far in the future.
Yeah,
Navy and Army.
Navy and Army, dude. Oh, feeding
That's
families there.
man,
Be good. They're American. So yeah, I mean, we have to look at where they are in the standings right
25 and 23 ranked,
now.
both ranked, first time in forever.
First
Uh,
time I remember both of them being ranked ever. I'm not gonna lie. Wow.
I mean, we can have a Army Navy game
Yeah,
2 weeks in a row.
very possible.
I mean, both these teams are so good. I was saw a ranking and had an Army quarterback at 7th in the Heisman rankings.
I mean, yeah,
He's
you're an
running the
Army.
heck out of the ball. You watch a video. I encourage you to go look at the game last weekend. Army just ran through that team.
Exactly.
Uh,
Who did they play last week? Army played UAB.
yeah, I mean they just ran through
They
them.
ran through
But
Birmingham.
uh, Army's got ECU this weekend
That
in
should
West
be
Point.
that
Army's
should be
winning that
that
game.
should be a dub. Yeah.
Navy's got Charlotte
That
and
should
at
probably be.
Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Navy's winning that game. Um, I mean,
I will say the American has a lot of sneaky good teams. I would say
yeah,
too. Like besides out of Army and Navy, North Texas has looked very good.
yeah,
They've been putting up some points. Memphis took down Florida State really
yeah.
this year. Basically killed all Florida State's hopes and chances in that one game. And then Tulane, even though they're 4-2, I believe they're still, if I'm not mistaken, I think they're undefeated in conference play still. If I'm not mistaken, I think they want 1 or 2 outside of it. Give me a little fact check there, but Tulane might be the
Tulane is
team.
2-0 in the conference.
2-0. I think Tulane would be the spoiler, play the spoilers who are to the dream Army Navy scenario, and they're a very good team too, you know.
Tulane has, let's see, Tulane avoids Army but plays Navy.
So that would be the head to head then. The winner of that game
Yeah.
most likely would
But
advance on one. Mm.
Yeah, we could have a ranked matchup, and that would feed families.
Exactly. Literally, Army Navy this year would be incredible. That's something we usually when they play each other, both teams are usually fighting to get in. The winner usually gets bowl eligibility. Or one team is just leagues better than the other
Yeah.
one. Usually that week 14, 15 match, whatever week it is, no one really pays attention. You just watch it because it's football on. But this year it could be something special. It could be for
Yeah.
playoff implications this
So of the big games this weekend, I'm taking Tennessee wins that game.
year.
Um, I think that's a safe bet for that spread,
Hmm.
and I take Texas to win
Okay.
that game.
Uh,
I think Alabama is good. I think Tennessee is better. I just
mhm.
think, and it's going to be a shame. I don't think both those teams make the playoffs. I just don't think.
Which is crazy to think
Yeah,
about.
it's a shame, but
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's wild to think about. I say the sleeper game of the week, because I want to see how good this Missouri team is, right? Can Missouri show up and say, "Hey, we belong in the top 10 again"?
yeah,
And I think Auburn, there was a game this year they played. I don't remember who it was, but they kept the game close. I believe it was Arkansas. I believe I'm not mistaken. It was an Arkansas team that they could have easily won the game, and there was just some silly mistakes, silly mistakes that could have prevented, a win or a loss. But for me personally, the games I'm looking for this week, for example, Texas, Georgia, obviously. I have Georgia winning that game, going in to Texas, beating them by a touchdown. Easy win. I have Bama beating Tennessee. The motions behind what's happened the last couple weeks for Alabama, losing to Vandy, almost losing to South Carolina. Really good South Carolina team, by the way. Um, Either of those losses, they lost to both of those, their season would have been over. I think they have a little reset, a little check here against a big main team, and they show why they are still a top 10
yeah.
team in the nation. You know,
Um, yeah. So those two big games. I don't know who you take in those games.
I said I took Texas and, or excuse me, Georgia and Bama. Those are the two teams
Okay,
I
so
took.
we're taking opposites.
Mhm.
Um, I'm a better sports better than Micah, so
I'm not gonna lie.
uh, yeah.
So
But
yeah, I agree with you. I will say the other game this week that's a big one is Arkansas LSU. If Arkansas goes in or excuse me, if LSU comes out with a second loss, Arkansas goes 5-2. Do you rank Arkansas?
no,
You don't rank
no.
Arkansas. I think they have a case to be ranked. I think they played good enough games, including that win over Tennessee. I think those are good enough games to say you go in and rank them 25th, in my
Yeah,
opinion. Mm.
yeah. So those are the games coming up this weekend. We'll talk about that next week, talking about the results, implications, playoffs. We'll come out with our first playoff rankings next week. Um, me and Micah will have our own. So, uh, but yeah, keep it on the college basketball
Dude, those
right around the corner.
rankings. Yes, yes. Those rankings, dude. They rubbed a lot of people the wrong way too, and they
Uh,
rubbed us the wrong way as well.
yeah. I mean, I was mad. Uh,
Yeah.
we'll just go through 1 through 25 here. I got it pulled up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Number one, Kansas. Alabama at number two.
Hmm.
UConn at number three. Houston at number four. Iowa State at number five. Gonzaga at number six. We'll talk about that one.
Hmm.
Duke at number seven. Baylor at number eight. UNC at nine. Arizona at 10. Auburn at 11. Tennessee at 12. A&M at 13. Purdue at 14. Creighton at 15. Arkansas at 16, Indiana at 17, Marquette at 18, Texas at 19, Cincinnati at 20, Florida at 21, UCLA at 22, Kentucky at 23, Ole Miss at 24, and Rutgers rounded out at number 25.
So the ones that I really took issue with, especially, and we're Carolina fans, want to make that very clear when I'm about to say this, right? And I know everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, Carolina at 9, blah blah blah, get over it." It's Duke at 7 that really rubs me the wrong way. Duke had coming in one of the best recruiting classes, arguably the best recruiting class coming to the nation, with 4 5 stars coming in, to their program, including Cooper Flag. Kamon Mulich and Con Knuppel. The three guys I love. I probably said his name wrong just now, but three guys I love out of that Duke lineup. They really got really big, right? They're a very big team, something they struggled with a
Yep.
lot last
Duke
year.
coming into the year, 24/7 Sports
Mhm.
has them ranked as the best recruiting class.
Which I 100% agree with.
They have five stars coming in,
Exactly.
one 4 star.
Mhm.
Uh,
They're a good team, simply
and
put.
like I'm gonna play ACC fans. You
Mm.
should be pissed off.
Mhm.
Uh, where is Miami?
I don't know why. I don't know why they're not up
Miami
there.
is ranked seventh in recruiting this year.
Mhm. Mm.
Uh, like That is
You would think that'd be
that's better than Carolina.
and a lot of people would say
Carolina's
too.
ranked number.
Exactly. A lot of people would say too, oh, but they're freshmen coming in. And what I say to you is, if you remember the list, Rutgers is ranked 25th. Rutgers had they're a top five recruiting class, if I'm not mistaken. No, I know they have the number one and number three players in the country
Number
coming in.
four.
Number one and number two, number four players, and the number four recruiting class.
Yep, they're
If you
number
can
four.
rank Rutgers coming in, a program that has been they've been on and off for the last 20 years. If you're my age, you know good and well Rutgers has been meh until about 2 years ago when they didn't get in. Everyone said they should have got in 2 years ago, and then they got killed in the what's the name of that tournament? The NIT tournament,
Yep.
right? So I believe Miami deserves to be ranked wholeheartedly. Maybe not a top 15 team, but if you're going to put Rutgers in there, I think Miami more than deserves to be in the top 25.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I have a big issue with Miami not being in there.
Mm.
The ACC disrespect again. For whatever reason, the moment Roy Williams left North Carolina
And Coach K left Duke.
and Coach K left Duke, the ACC was decided to be horrible.
Shatters, man. I
Uh,
went to Iowa State.
what's the SEC doing with that many teams
I
in the
don't
top
know, dude.
25?
The SEC,
The SEC basketball is good,
it's not.
not that
It's
good.
not us. It's
I
not the
mean,
ACC, man.
like realistically, I
I don't like one thing we want to talk about too is that Arizona, like a lot of people don't know that Calipari left Kentucky this year
yep.
to go to Arkansas. And people are like, well, why is Arkansas top? They're top 15. No, they're 13th if I remember right. I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah, they're ranked 13th. If Arkansas is ranked 13th, they haven't proven anything yet.
Arkansas 16.
16th. I'm a humongous Calipari fan, but they have not proven anything to anyone yet to be a good team. Most likely they'll be fine. They'll probably be a top
I
15 team
want
somewhere.
someone to explain to me what is Ole Miss doing in the
I
top
don't even know who
25?
they have. I'm not gonna
Why
lie
is
to you.
Miami not in the top 25?
I
Miami received, first off, I am, Illinois should be in there. John Fanta from
mm,
Fox Sports agreed with me on Illinois being in there and Miami.
mm,
I'm looking through this. Wake Forest received more votes to be in the AP.
then Miami did.
Miami received 11, the same as McNeese State.
I don't know. I don't know.
This is my issue with the AP. It happens to be people just don't know what they're talking about.
Mm. They go from
Miami will
ah,
be a top 20 team
mm.
at the end of the year.
Oh, I agree. And if not, they'll be a sleeper in the tournament. I guarantee
Yeah.
it for sure,
And I think,
100%.
well, I said we'd circle back to Gonzaga.
Mm,
Uh, Last year in the West Coast Conference, they'll be in the Pac-12 next year.
mm.
I believe. Why are they at 6? Every year, Gonzaga is ranked, and then they play a team outside of the West Coast and they
They
lose.
get cooked. They don't lose. They get freaking cooked
Um,
every single year.
and lay it in case I'm wrong. I believe Gonzaga in the first week plays a top 5 team. Let me see here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see anyone this, and I could be wrong here. Like Ryan
Gonzaga
Nembhard's not bad.
plays Baylor
Mm.
on November
A
4th.
gritty Big 12 Baylor team, and that West Coast style of basketball, man. I know I sound like all these guys that like, oh, we need to get on the block and dribble and do turn. I believe that West Coast style of basketball is just not
Yeah.
like it depends on the situation. It's too high risk, high reward for you to consistently beat teams over and over again. One thing, for example, Carolina has been great at historically is offensive rebounding,
Yep.
right? And that's something like when you're getting down there and getting gritty. Like the years Gonzaga was good, they had Drew Timmy, for example.
Yep.
They had guys who were able to go in and get gritty along with the
Yep. Yep.
scores.
Yep.
This year, I don't really see maybe Graham Ike. I don't know any players in this team. The only person I know of for sure is Ryan Nemhard, Andrew Nemhard's brother. Who is pretty decent, I would say. So we'll see if this Gonzaga team could prove us wrong, but I don't see
I
anything.
don't
No.
think they're better than Carolina. Carolina again, number 9, give or take +2,
No, I
plus
agree.
or minus 2. I
Mhm,
could see them being 11th.
mhm.
I would think that'd be very disrespectful. I could see them being number 7.
I agree.
Um,
I think
there's just questions coming into the physicality of this team.
that's what
They're
I was
going to
going
be
to
a
bring up.
small team. Elliot Cadeau, a lot of this season rides on his ability to shoot a three.
They've been saying this year though that he is
Yeah,
really
I've seen that.
guys in the gym today. So we'll see if that's true. Most likely, the first couple games he'll be bad at shooting the ball because of the nerves. So you're gonna have nerves coming in when you're a young
Yep.
player like that. But if he can prove that he can reliably shoot the jumper, because throughout the year last year, even the Bama game last year, he had what 3 threes in that game,
Yep.
3 out of 5 or something like that. He
Yep.
shot the ball very well. So if he can continue this streak and keep on going and showing that he can shoot the rock, it's gonna open up the defense
Yep.
crazy.
Yeah, the ACC. I think will be Duke and Carolina. They're on a separate tier.
Hmm.
And then that next tier, you got Wake Forest, Miami.
Hmm.
Big news yesterday: Virginia coach retires.
Hmm. Huge
Um,
news out of nowhere, you know. I think can Virginia switch their style of ball now? Everyone knows I'm a big critic of the way Virginia plays. You know, they will shut you down. They'll slow the ball down. You're scoring 50 points or you're scoring nothing, right? You know, against Virginia. Will that change? Well, I don't know. Did they name someone who's going to be an interim
I have
coach?
no idea.
You know, I
He
want
just retired this morning, so it was at 11.
So we'll see if they can switch something up there or not. You know, in Virginia,
Um,
you know.
Something that was interesting that I heard, Tony Elliott, part of the reasoning that went into it was he felt like that he needs to be in a place like in an administrative place. Is kind of what it sounded like
Mm,
to sum it up. Like he can't coach with the current issues in college basketball, which makes me think he's struggling with NIL, which you can argue for and against. I think that's why Coach K walked away from the game. I ultimately think Roy Williams kind of decided to walk away the game because he couldn't do because he's used to that recruit, like
hmm.
one-on-one relationship. Not
Exactly.
can offer you
I
like the
think
dude from
even
Marshall football tutors biscuits or something like
exactly.
that, right?
I think even like you can go back to football. Nick Saban, I think, had a hard time with NIL
And I think
as
that's why.
well. Exactly. He's like, it's too much of a headache to do. I think these guys can all recruit with it. I think Coach K doesn't need NIL to really get
But I think it's not. That's not. They want to coach basketball.
exactly. They don't
They
care
don't
about the
want to
money.
spend. They didn't.
Mhm. I wish
They're not
NIL
finance guys.
NIL originally was going to be like when South Carolina and California both passed laws at the same time about NIL stuff. Their laws were meant to be stipends, right? So it's
Yeah.
going to be the players were paid equal amounts depending on position. Plus, they were allowed to get deals, companies.
Yep.
Now it turned into this slugfest that basically feels like professional sports. I'm not necessarily opposed to it, but I think the lack of regulation has really hurt the sport a
Yep.
lot, in my opinion, you know.
Yeah, I think it will be interesting. The ACC will shape up interestingly with Tony Bennett leaving, kind of one of those established coaches.
Yeah, another marquee coach leaving the
Yeah,
ACC. I didn't think about it.
Jimbo.
You
You
know,
got Syracuse coach leaving a couple
Veja.
years ago.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see if Syracuse can be good. I don't think Syracuse is going to be good this year. I could be wrong. We're going to look back in this like 4 weeks from now and realize how wrong we are with that take. But, I mean, the ACC should still be the ACC. You know, Duke and
Yeah.
Carolina carrying the conference. It should still be the ACC. You know,
But
I love these recruits we got incoming, especially Carolina's recruits. We Ian Jackson, Drake Powell. Had a couple friends at the game. They were saying those two had an immediate connection, a
yep.
seamless connection together, too. So
Well,
that
that's
those two
what
stay.
that is. That is also what I heard.
Mhm. Exactly. If those two can stay put, if they stay for 2 or 3 years, man, they might tear up the league.
Yeah, it'll
You know.
be interesting. But I mean, college basketball is kind of just starting. Not much to talk about. I mean, other than you got new faces, old faces, new places.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah, we can't really do much but speculate, right? You
yeah,
know. So
we'll come back in 2 weeks. We'll come back and talk about the first games. Baylor Gonzaga 6 versus 8.
yeah,
That
be
will probably be a
huge.
game we look at
Marquee game.
very closely.
Uh-huh.
Um,
That'll be a marquee game for sure.
yeah. So
One thing I wanted to talk about, pivoting into another basketball subject, was the NBA preseason.
yeah.
Preseason started.
Um,
You know.
I'm gonna be honest. Don't watch a lot of NBA
I
preseason.
don't
I
blame you.
find it can be hot take. Bronny should not be on that team.
I think so. My Bronny take on this is I don't think Bronny is bad enough to play. I think Bronny is okay enough to play in the NBA. I think he is playing just scared basketball, and he's playing. It's just not a. You can tell he's being rushed into his
Yeah.
whole, processing. I think he should have stayed one more year at USC. I think his injury or his heart condition really hampered his development for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
If that didn't happen, plus because his high scoring game last year, he had like 16, 7, and
Yep.
like 5 or something like that. So he's proven that he can score and he can prove he can be a lockdown player. The question is, can he do it on the high level?
Yeah.
And that's going to take time to do. Also, can he block out people who's going to say stuff like
Um,
nepotism? It's hard.
I don't.
It's hard for him to,
Yeah, it's
do that.
interesting. I
Mhm.
mean,
You know,
I think he's overrated. I
I,
think I
I,
think he had the potential to be a great player. He's overrated right now.
I think he
In a
went too
draft
early.
where we've shortened the NBA draft
Mm,
this many years ago to just 2 rounds,
yeah, it should be like
was he
7.
really? Was he really in the best like
Now, I
top of
will
those players?
say
No.
I saw this on insert random app here. I don't know if I can say that app on whatchamacallit. But I saw this when I was scrolling, right? And it said that he wasn't even the biggest nepotism case in the league. Detroit had a player they just signed, who is the son of the owner, and his stat line,
Yeah, I'm sure it's bad.
he averaged point 0.7 points, point 0.4 rebounds, and point 0.1 assists at
Yeah, but
Bowling Green.
yeah,
And he got signed. Yeah, yeah. So he was. I would say there's a lot of cases that we see often. And
the problem with the nepotism.
mm,
I just don't think he's good enough ready yet. I think he should spend the year in the G League.
I think a year in the G will help him a lot too.
Um,
The other Lakers rookie though, Bolton Connect. I've been, you know me, I won't shut up about it. I've been high on him since last year when they played Kentucky. That
yep,
humongous game. He had 40 points in a huge game from him.
yep.
He might be rookie of the year maybe. You know, there's
Yeah.
not a really clear rookie of the year guy. There's a couple guys I can think of, but he's definitely toward the
Yeah,
top of the list.
he'll be good.
Hmm.
Had a good game last night. I do know that. I think sort of the going into the season. I mean, preseason aside, of course, that's big news. Um, we'll get Lonzo Ball back. Get to see him play
Huge.
basketball
Miss him,
again.
dude. One of my favorite
Um,
players to watch, easily. Yeah, Lonzo Ball coming back. Can the Nuggets put together a championship run? They felt like last
again,
year
I felt
was.
like they should have last year. I just think they fell flat. They
Hmm.
were flat. Um,
Yeah,
Another big injury news: Kawhi Leonard
gone. Done.
indefinitely out. Uh, Feels like John Wall over.
Yeah, yeah,
I feel like this is John Wall again.
yeah. And this isn't no shade to John Wall. We live in North
You know,
Carolina.
you
We
know,
love John Wall. You know,
John Wall was a great player, but
legend. Legend.
I
But
think he fell out of love with the game.
yeah,
And you start doing something for a job, you lose love for it.
I would
So
say too. They people usually talk about too, like Paul George talking on his podcast. He wasn't talking about Kawhi here specifically because I think Kawhi does want to play at the time he wanted to play, you know. But he talked about how there's certain players, for example, Brandon Ingram, who they view the NBA as a job. And I'm not saying this is no shade to Brandon Ingram. I'm a Nets fan. If Brandon Ingram went to the Nets right now, I would be so happy, ecstatic right now, you know.
yeah,
But there are certain times where you see players that when you get riddled by injuries, for example, Derrick Rose, who just retired,
sad to see that
I
happen.
know it's so sad.
Sad to see that
And one of the
happen. You
reasons
know
he
what I mean?
talked about retiring was that he hated that thing. He hated going through PT, being scared of injury happening again, third, fourth, fifth time happening, and he just couldn't handle it. So
Yep.
I mean, I understand. You know, I'm not saying Kawhi is going to retire. I don't think he will retire anytime soon. People are calling for it though. You know, on the Clippers roster,
Yep.
I would say, or the Clippers fans
Um,
at least.
Big off-season news again. Only so much we can speculate with the NBA season.
Hmm.
Celtics, I think, return the most players.
They return almost all their players. I think.
Most of their production is back.
Mhm.
Uh,
Plus, I was talking about a
Do
rookie
Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown have that good of a year? And you get
together.
again, like they had a good year last year.
Yeah.
Porzingis stay healthy.
Isn't he out till like November?
Yeah, but I'm saying like when he comes back, are we looking at him staying healthy?
They're gonna
That's a
do a
big
mid
question to
section.
keep
We'll
an
see.
eye on. We'll come back and talk to that, of course, when we get to those points.
One rookie to point on, talking about the Celtics, glad you brought that up. One rookie to look at, Baylor Shireman out of Creighton. I think he averaged what was like 17 a game last year. He was one of their key marquee players, very similar player to Dalton Connect. We'll see if he can get play time on the Celtics. There's a lot of guys in the Celtics, though. He could be go somewhere else and contribute. I mean, if he's like a bench type of guy, kind of like what's the name of the Caucasian dude, bench player, tough as hell. Um, I'm forgetting his name.
Where's he play?
For the Celtics, white dude. Oh, I'm forgetting his
Peyton
name.
Pritchard.
Peyton Pritchard. He might be another type of Peyton Pritchard type of guy,
Um,
you know. And I mean, we'll see if he can develop to a good player. He was great on Creighton, obviously. You know that team. They were a 3 seed last year. They could have. I had them as a sleeper pick if they beat Tennessee. But we'll see what they can do. We can't really
yeah.
speculate at all.
I think another big blockbuster news over the offseason in
Mm.
the NBA. Karl Anthony Towns
Going to the
goes to the Knicks,
Knicks.
goes to the Garden. You can see the picture of the Garden. He'll be playing there.
They'll be playing there. I
Um,
mean, we one thing we talked about too was how does this trade benefit the Knicks? It does give them more shooting, you know,
yeah.
and more. And I think you'll see them
Gives
spread the
them
ball more.
that solid
Consistent for
player.
sure.
I mean, he's an all-star.
Exactly, he is, you know. And I mean, they lose a wasn't Julius Randle also this year too? You lose Julius Randle, and I, as a somewhat resident, probably not fully Knicks fan, it's sad to see him go. You know, I'd say like Minnesota picking him up. Did you like that trade for Minnesota? Did you think it was a good trade?
I thought I thought Minnesota is understanding that the team's no longer built around Cat, which is what it was for the long time.
Hmm. And they
It's
moved
built
on from the
around
guy.
Anthony Edwards,
Yeah.
and they gave him the pieces that he needs.
Mhm.
Dante DiVincenzo, stuff, people like that, that gives him the ability to win.
I think too, another thing they're considering, because I remember at the time of the trade, I was like, why did Minnesota do that? And I'm realizing now, you get back Dante DiVincenzo, you get back Julius Randle, plus additionally they added Robert Dillingham and Terrence Shannon Jr.
Yep.
Right, and I think that's more enough pieces where you can get enough guys who can score the basketball at will. You don't have to
Yeah.
rely on Cat, hoping he can get 20, because Cat can rip off points. We know that he's one of the
Yeah.
best shooting big men in the league, easily. Right, but when you have enough 3 and D players, right, surrounding your team around Anthony Edwards, then your team can move up and down the court quicker. They're trying to
Yeah.
make a more defensive team. The offense they have down pat. Anthony Edwards is going to get you your 20 to 30 a night, and I think they're trying to explore more of the defense around, trying to dig deeper into the defensive side of the ball, if that makes sense. So I mean, we'll see what they can do there. The Knicks, I mean, I'm kind of shamed. I'm kind of sad to not see the Villanova boys all play together. I think it would have worked really well. Plus Julius Randle,
Yeah.
I think that would have worked very, very well. In the know at the time per se. Yeah, I mean, I can't really think of any other NBA news. No,
Yeah. I mean, we'll just keep an eye as the season approaches. October 22nd,
I believe
Tuesday,
so. Yeah, opening
game
night.
starts.
It's Knicks and who's the opening night game? It's one of them.
Celtics play on opening, I believe.
It might be Knicks Celtics though. They might be a banner being
Um,
that game. So I'm assuming there.
Knicks, Celtics,
Knicks Celtics first game.
Wolves, Lakers.
Okay. Oh, that should be a good opening night.
So 7:30. Boston's right now favored by 5. Minnesota versus uh, LA.
Mm.
Minnesota's by 1.5. Oh, also I felt like we should mention Clippers' new arena.
Yeah, I forgot
Really
that
cool
was big.
looking.
I like the new arena.
Um, yeah,
I think people
I
are.
encourage you to go and find it and look into it. It's really cool.
Yeah,
So
exactly. A lot of people. It was getting a lot of hate. Obviously, people know.
Clippers
Right?
history. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. People were like, "Oh, well, with Staples, what happened to Staples?" And they were saying like the seating too, and like, "Oh, if you scream louder, you get more stuff." I think it was a bad idea, but we'll see it in practice. I think it looks pretty cool, though. I think they
yeah.
did a great job with it, as any new arena. Is it the same area as the as SoFi?
I believe so.
Is it the same area as SoFi? So that's like the
Um,
hub area,
yeah, but
I would say too. But yeah,
yeah,
pretty cool stuff.
should be pretty good.
What's the next topic on the list? Let's see. And then our last thing. Did we talk about the
Sorry, I know
NFL at
we
all?
just glitched right there. We were saying how we're having difficult.
There's some
We're
difficulties.
having some technical difficulties. I do apologize. Uh, yep. So, we'll move. Again, we'll go across now.
All right, sorry about that, yo.
Yeah, yeah. So we're back. I get sometimes it's finicky.
Let's see. Yeah, this is our first time doing it, so we're gonna have to go through, see what's going on, the issues and all that too. But last potential thing we're gonna talk about
The NFL.
NFL season.
We got a couple more things to talk about the NFL. Before them, we'll just talk about baseball right now.
Yeah.
CS is going on right now.
Hmm. 1 second, yo. Oh, we're all back. Some lag going on here.
Do apologize. Yeah. Okay. There we go. All right. So we'll just talk about the CS games going on right now. There's Joe Heisty.
That's pretty funny. Yeah. Ugh.
That's how Mets fans feel about last night. Calipari sitting there screaming. Uh, yeah.
I'll just leave it on that low key. But,
Yeah,
it'll be fine. Oh, man.
yeah. Calipari, that encapsulates how a Mets fan might feel last night, and a Yankees fan from
Mm,
the New York area. Both
yeah.
team lost. Yankees were up 5-3.
Yeah.
Uh, bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, 2-run homer. Guardians tied up. They go to the 10th, 2-run homer up by the Guardians to win it.
To win that game.
Series is 2-1.
What's the
But
line on, or who do most people have winning those series games?
Yankees and Dodgers.
Yankees and Dodgers. Okay.
Yeah, so Yankees are up 2-1. They won the first two.
And the Dodgers up 3-1. So this
Yeah,
is we need a little Cleveland magic
yep,
basically to spew down on the Nets here, or the Mets here, excuse me.
yep,
So yeah, to have that potential Subway
yep.
series to have.
Mets play Dodgers tonight.
Mm,
3-1. Dodgers are up. Backs against the wall. They got to win. So should be interesting.
mm. So yeah, do you think they can
They
get
got.
it tonight? Think they'll
I
pull?
think the Mets lose. I think
Mm,
that's their magic ends. No more grimace magic.
yeah.
Uh,
We'll see. I mean, if they make it happen, dude, I'm we said this earlier. A World Series, Subway Series
yep,
feeds families, arguably more than Army Navy
yep.
does. So we'll
So
hoping
just
for.
keep an eye out on those games. Dodgers have smoked the Mets the past two
Mhm.
games. 8-0 2 days ago and 10
10-2.
to 1,
10-2. 10 to
10 to
2.
2
Mm-hmm.
yesterday. So
Yeah. They've been
should
cooking.
be interesting. We'll finally go to we got the NHL going on. That's
Yeah.
just kind of getting started. We're Hurricanes
Yeah,
fans.
of course.
I believe we're 1-1.
Yeah, we play tonight. We play the
Yeah,
Penguins.
we got two games in a row, Penguins and then St. Louis Blues.
Mm,
We'll keep you guys updated on that. But
Obviously, yeah. Yeah. And then
NFL,
there you go.
big news going on in the NFL. Devontae Adams traded to the Jets.
Huge, huge trade.
Makes the Jets more of a threat. Uh, Mike and I split on this though. I still think the Jets are the damn Jets.
I
They're
get
the
it.
Jets.
I get it
They
too.
will.
Mm,
The owner is the issue, and
yeah.
he needs to go.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick said it perfectly. It's ready, shoot, aim.
Yeah.
So yeah, ready. Yeah. So I mean,
I agree with that. I think one thing about the Jets you have to always look at is when you look at if you're looking at any problem, especially if it's a generational problem, you have to look at the source too. And you can go back in time to, we were talking about this, Sam Darnold, right?
yeah,
Sam Darnold was given the keys, but the keys were all bent up and raggedy and jagged, right? He wasn't going to succeed out there. If he was given the right pieces to, I think he could be the Jets quarterback right now. Right. And we're seeing that in Minnesota right now. I think this trade though does help the Jets a lot. Like one problem they had with Nate Hackett with the play calling, I think Nate Hackett was a bigger problem, but one problem they had was their play calling was really two dimensional. If you look at a lot of the plays they just called inside runs, Y counters with Brees Hall. They would just run it, try to pound the A and B cap, right? And when your defense knows that, they're just gonna freaking load the inside.
yeah,
Look at the Vikings game and look at the Broncos game. It's
yeah,
all they did. They just rushed seven and kept loading the inside, and
yeah,
Nate Hackett would do anything. And then third down, he'd be like, "All right, Aaron, try to save us."
yeah,
Didn't work. One thing that's happening now with Devontae Adams, plus you seeing Nate Hackett losing his play calling abilities, that causes your offense to be more three dimensional, four dimensional now. Because now they're starting to run more bounces to the outside. Brees had, I think it was like four runs in the first half that were bounces to the outside of the last game they just played. Plus, when you have a wide receiver room with Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard, and Mike Williams as your one, two, three, and four, it's a pretty good wide receiver room. And people are calling for Mike Williams' head saying he's washed. I think he just didn't have. I think he's
yeah,
had a couple rough games in a row, in my opinion. I think
yeah,
he'll turn around and see that.
yeah.
Oh, your
Just
Patriots.
my Patriots.
Mhm.
The slideshow is a new thing, so we're working through that.
Oh, yeah.
Clearly don't have it in the right order, so I
Exactly, yeah.
apologize for that.
Uh,
I'm a Patriots fan.
mhm.
Love the 2010s decade. Hate the 2020.
Oh, yeah.
It's been awful. New promise though. I'm a UNC fan. Getting Drake May back in April, I was ecstatic.
More to stay.
That's kind of, to put it simply, I was extremely happy.
Yeah.
He had a
He's quarterback.
great rookie debut,
Mm.
rough patches, played against a really good Texans defense. But I think he'll be good. I honestly think he'll end up being the second best quarterback in that class. I think Jaden Daniels is just better.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
What?
I think Caleb Williams though is finally starting to turn the corner.
I don't think so. I don't think Caleb Williams
I
is
think
very
it's
good.
all fluffed up.
You can come back and attack me when I'm wrong. I'm sure. But
I mean, I see it too. I was one of those people that one of my friends is a Bears fan and he won't shout about the Bears.
yeah,
So if anything, I almost want Caleb Williams to not succeed. You didn't hear that from me. You didn't hear it
yeah,
from me. But
yeah. So we'll go. We had two QB rookie
mhm,
debuts. Patriots lost 41-21.
mhm,
Drake May 20 for 33, 243 passing yards, three passing touchdowns, two interceptions, one bad interception. The other one tipped up at the line and ball was caught off a Patriots player's back.
mhm.
Um, five carries, 38 rushing yards, uh, sacked four times.
I would say
Really?
for a rookie or even for a player, that's a pretty solid
Yeah.
game. Baker had a game with what, five
QB rating
touchdowns,
of
two picks?
88.3.
Mm-hmm.
Um, first rookie QB since 1950 for to lead his team in passing and to pass for three touchdowns and lead his team in rushing
Mm-hmm.
in his debut.
Mm-hmm. And then the other
I think
rookie.
they'll win this week against the Jags.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they'll get an easy dub there. The Jags have been it's spiraling. It's
Yeah.
spiraling out of control. As for the other game, I would say I was showing this one. So they played last night too, but the Spencer Rattler show, right? I'm actually going to talk about the game last week first. Let me pull that up real quick. So the Spencer Rattler show obviously has been going on for a number of years now. He went 4 for
Oklahoma prodigy
yeah,
benched for Caleb
yeah,
Williams goes to South Carolina.
exactly. He went 22 for 40, 243 yards, 6.1 yards per pass. He had two picks, though, it happens to rookie quarterback. He had a rating of 60.7,
Pretty bad.
pretty bad, I would say, too, but is a rookie. However, we did have a game last night, and even though they lost miserably, right, miserable fashion, his stats were marginally better 25 for 35, 172 yards, right, 4.9, which is worse. 82.1 passer rating though, so I think
Yes.
you start to see some progression from him. This is a pretty
So
good Broncos defense as
yeah.
well.
Um I guess yes, but ball security is an issue. And you're not
Mhm,
going to see it on the stat line right there. If you go look at the turnovers, strip sack, strip
mhm,
sack twice. One got called back for an offside.
yeah.
The offsides didn't affect the play.
Mhm.
Uh,
So it should have been counted as one,
yeah,
honestly.
so ball security is an issue.
If he can improve that quickly, maybe the Saints get a little turnaround here, in the future.
Yeah,
Because I don't think they'll stay on Derek Carr long. I think Derek
yeah,
Carr is, and I feel bad because I love Derek Carr too, man. That's my guy. But I think they'll move off of him maybe the next year afterward. We'll see what happens then when it comes to that too. The Packers, we were having a lot of discussions about this.
yeah,
Um, yeah, what 4-2, right? 4-2
yeah. Four
Packers
and
squad.
two.
Mm-hmm.
Went.
4-2. They won last week, if I'm
Yeah,
not
they
mistaken.
won last week.
Yep, 34-13. The Jordan Love show. Jordan Love threw 22 for 32, 258 yards, 8.1 per play. One pick to four passing touchdowns, 119.5 quarterback rating, excuse me. I think Jordan Love finally settled in this game. Now Arizona's defense is lackluster, so this is a pretty easy team to beat. Plus,
Yep.
no Marvin Harrison Jr. either.
I would say, looking at it, I've seen Jordan Love. He throws off his back foot a ton, too
Brett
much that he
Favre,
needs to. Um,
yeah. And maybe that's
ag-
just him.
again, I'm on the skeptic train of Jordan Love. I think he's had one good half of a year. Uh,
Mhm,
I'm more than happy if I was wrong about that. I think he is a above average quarterback. I don't think he's in that great conversation and that people want to put him in. He should not have been paid what he's paid over the offseason, especially still on his rookie contract.
mhm,
I don't really understand that. The argument that's made is I know you've made this argument,
mhm.
Micah, is
Yeah,
that the quarterback
is a projected
it's
pay
just
slot.
it's just going up. Like the
Exactly.
the price to keep a good quarterback is going up.
It's the strategy of, and I'm a big Packers fan, but it's the strategy of paying a quarterback ahead of time to assume his worth. It's what they did to Trevor
Yep.
Lawrence, and I mean, right now it's not looking great. We'll see if he can turn around in Jacksonville. But I think it was an okay contract to pay now, assuming that he would do well, hoping you have to pay him more later. It's the same reason why the Bengals have been trying to get a deal with Jamar Chase for the longest, because they wait a year and he has an amazing
Yep.
season. You got to pay him more. So that's what I
Yep.
believe for that. Another great game this week, Battle of the Beltway. Right, you got Baltimore and Washington playing. J.D. Daniels, 24 for 35, 269.
Yep.
He was cooking. 110 quarterback rating. He was really cooking there. And then Lamar, he had a pretty. Let me pull this up real quick. He had a pretty decent game too. 20 for 36, 323, one passing, one interception. I think he had a rushing touchdown too, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
believe so.
I think he had a rushing touchdown. 114.7 quarterback rating. Was sacked twice though. I think Jane Daniels, if he keeps this up, he might be that guy. He might be
Yeah.
what the Washington football team, whatever you want to call them, whatever they call themselves this week,
Yeah.
what they've been looking for since Robert Griffin was
Yeah.
there.
That game was last week, of course.
Hmm.
Ravens won that game.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
A big game this week, this upcoming week. Looking forward. Just two games. We'll get quick thoughts on it, and then we'll get to our bet picks. Texans, Packers,
Hmm.
Green Bay by 3. I think that's generous, but I could see the Packers probably win that football game in Lambeau. Lions, Vikings. 4-1 Lions go to 5-0
They,
Vikings.
they just
Is
can't.
Sam Darnell that guy? I think we'll find out this
We'll
game.
find out for
Aiden
sure.
Hutchinson, horrendous injury.
Oh man. Oh.
Sad. He's described as the heartbeat and soul of that team.
Mm.
Mr. Michigan.
Yes.
Um,
Michigan man all the way. You know.
that
I
will be an interesting game.
Yeah, I think one thing to look forward to and pay attention to is can the Lions survive without him? They're
Yep.
still a very good defensive team without him. One thing you'll see though is that when you have someone like Hutchinson rushing on one end, you know where all the plays are going. They're going to run away from
Yep.
Hutchinson, right? Now you don't have that necessarily marquee, that showstopper on one half of your ball,
Yep.
so the plays can go anywhere, which gives Minnesota huge strengths, especially with Aaron Jones. And this hurts me to say, as their leading rusher for the Vikings. That doesn't sound right, man. Aaron Jones and the Vikings still hurts to say. Another thing they talked about too. Will they trade for another pass rusher? Do you think they'll trade for another pass rusher? Yes, no.
I think we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we'll see how they do.
People
Um,
keep floating Max Crosby up. I don't know if the Raiders are willing to move off him.
yeah, it'll
You
be
know.
interesting if they're willing to move on without him. But
Mhm. Yeah, the if they do move on, or they not move on, if they do go for a pass rusher. I think the most obvious name you can go for is a Hassan Reddick, maybe a Miles Garrett. Miles Garrett is very
yeah.
expensive though, so
Oh my.
very expensive.
Yeah. It
Hassan
just
Reddick,
depends if Cleveland's ready to burn it all day.
which we'll see. I think they're really stubborn out there,
Yeah.
so we'll see what they can do.
And then another great game this week. Chiefs go to 49ers.
No,
Uh,
huh, game of the week.
yeah. So we'll
Uh-huh.
see about that game. We'll talk about those next week. Who wins and stuff. So this is the final segment we'll get into today. It's, it's our pick segment.
Yeah.
So we get 3 college football games, 3 NFL games to pick. It's the line, um, and you get points for if they cover that line, and then if they win, you get an extra point.
Mm.
So I'll do mine first. I've been looking at this a little through the week, watching this line moves. I'm gonna stay away from the Georgia
I think it's a good
and
goal. Ah.
uh, Tennessee games.
Hmm.
I just don't feel like that's something I can really go look at. Um, I am taking Purdue
Okay.
at 29.5.
That's one I looked at too.
Um, they're plus 29.5. I'm taking that. Um, I think that should be interesting. It's at Purdue. Uh, the other game I looked at was Wake Forest at UConn at 2.5.
2.5 there. You
I'm
taking
taking Wake Forest plus 2.5.
mm, the UConn's not a real team. They're 4-2.
UConn,
They're 4
yeah,
and 2.
I just Wake Forest. It's an ACC team. We
Mm-hmm.
cannot be losing
To
to that
UConn.
as an ACC
I
fan.
feel that.
No.
Uh-huh.
So I got them. Uh, that they're at minus 125 at plus two and a
Yeah.
half.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and then my final game, uh, I was gonna look at, but the lines kind of moved interestingly. Um, Illinois plus 4.
I saw that. That's one
These
that.
are my so this pick segment's kind of like the underdog section on Sports Center, but we're not gonna call it that.
Mm.
Um, yeah, that's my 3 college games. I really debated with that California NC State. I probably will go ahead and put money on that. I would recommend that you go put money on Cal minus 10. If you can wait till tomorrow, see if it gets bet down
Mm.
more. State has not covered.
No, they can't.
They
They
can't.
I don't think they're possible. I don't think it's possible for State to cover this year. I'd say. For my three games, right? My three games. Number one. I think, and I just saw this just now, right? Number one. No, number 12 Notre Dame, Georgia Tech. The line is plus 14, right? I'm taking Georgia Tech to cover that.
Plus 14.
Yeah, I'm taking that. I think they get that game within the 7 points if Notre Dame wins. It might be a little different depending on we're using different apps, so it might be a little different
Yep.
too.
I mean,
But that's what
I think I got 13 and a half.
So yeah, so
I got
I'm
14.
and I'm still taking that whether it's 14 out of 13 doesn't matter there in my opinion. Another one that I saw when I was scrolling through, another big one. Let me go ahead and find it again. Was where is this game? Where is this game? South Carolina at Oklahoma. They're taking it's saying +1 Oklahoma. I think maybe Oklahoma can go in, stun South Carolina, turn around. Maybe that deep because what's been happening watching South Carolina games is that when they play tougher defenses they have a tendency to have high turnover rate, right? So can Oklahoma's defense force enough turnovers to score enough points
Yep.
to win in Oklahoma
Yep.
against Beamer ball? Good old Beamer ball.
So you got Oklahoma +1,
Mhm.
Georgia Tech +14.
Exactly. And then the third and final game, right? I'm gonna go ahead and pick a top 25 matchup. I'm gonna go Miami and Louisville, and I'm gonna say Louisville covers. I think
5. What was your line at
it's
5?
five. Yep, at
Yep.
5 points. I think Miami wins, but I think it's a field
You
goal. I
think
think
it's field goal? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I'm taking I'm taking Louisville to cover that game, Miami to win it overall,
Yep.
though.
So those are our college football games. We'll go to the NFL now.
Hmm, back it up here, and the lines of these games obviously beautiful there. So
I'll start
go
with the
ahead.
NFL.
Yeah,
I'm a Patriots fan. I'm biased. The hell are the Patriots doing at +6 against the Jags?
just take that.
I'm taking that.
Easily
I'm
take that.
sorry I stole that one from you.
No,
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 you
you
can't
do
choose
you,
that.
you got
No,
it.
no.
Wow, that's a big one right
I'm
there.
taking that. I'm taking the Texans +3 against the Packers.
Mm,
Um, yeah, I mean Titans Bills. I got tempted by that +9, but I think the Bills just gonna come and put their foot down with Amari
hmm
Cooper. That's also another trade that happened, Amari
Another
Cooper.
big trade we
But it
didn't
kind
talk
of
about.
got that's a blockbuster trade that got overshadowed by
That's
Devontae Adams,
Adams.
Rodgers
That
reunited.
one I think will have big implications too for
Um,
that race in the AFC East as well. Or is
yeah.
that AFC North? AFC East. Never mind. Yeah. Those were your three, right?
No, I've had that's two.
Mm.
I didn't pick that
I'm gonna
one.
take the third one here. Hoping for
I'm gonna say I ended up taking your third one.
uh,
Lions +1.5.
you taking the Lions on that
Yeah.
one?
They're +1.5 at the Vikings. I'm
Mm,
taking the Lions. They're gonna come out and they're just gonna play with some fire for Aiden.
exactly, for sure.
Those are my 6 overall picks. My odds are at plus 3,700.
Mhm.
So
Let's
yeah.
go ahead and do my three then. So he didn't take my third one, which is good. So my first one is Philly at New York. Now I know everyone's gonna be like, it's the Giants. The Giants are garbage. They're trash. What do they have? They have Daniel Jones. The Giants have looked their defense has looked amazing, right? And Philly has looked lackluster. They won and they beat excuse me, they beat the Browns last week by 4 points. Right? I don't think that offense is real. I think it's
Yep.
really fake. And I'm taking the Giants plus 3.5.
Okay.
Right. I think it's a great line right there. I think they use the cover. I think they win the game outright. Plus 3.5
Okay.
right there. Second game of the week is Seattle at Atlanta. Seattle's had it very, very rough recently. They can't really put two and two together per se. Are we doing underdogs only for this? We're doing just picks of
Underdog. So
underdogs only.
yeah.
I think Seattle shows the work. They show what the team because they start off 3-0 this year. I think
Mhm.
Seattle comes out. They show, hey, we can beat a good team like Atlanta. I think Atlanta, because it is Kirk Cousins, them it's gonna be a little streaky. They'll have a little, the teams that are like B tier, C tier, they struggle with. I'm taking the Seahawks plus 3. And the third game of the week, Colts versus Miami. I'm taking Miami plus 3 as well. I think the Colts, right? Their problem is their secondary. They
Yep.
cannot cover to save their freaking lives. And plus, Anthony Richards coming back, I don't believe enough in his offensive production in order to get guys going,
Yep.
such as Michael Pittman,
Yep.
Caleb
I
Downs.
agree. Yep.
And I mean, I think Miami with Tyler Huntley, excuse me, with Snoop Huntley running the offense, I think they finally figure out this week. I
Snoop.
think they get some deep throws in there, get the ball going to your guys like Tyreek, to Jalen Waddle. I think that's a recipe for success there. And I think Pat McAfee's going to be screaming on his show about, how Miami beat the brakes off them. So those are my three picks this week. So to recap, it's the Giants plus 3.5 against Philly, Seahawks plus 3 against Atlanta, and Miami plus 3 against the Colts. Right. My odds for a parlay are at plus four thousand four
Yeah.
hundred
So,
and eight.
um, yeah, we'll be doing bet stuff like that. I got six. Mine are at plus 3,700. I'm gonna put about $4 down for a $150 payout.
Mm,
We'll
that's
get back to y'all
great.
next week. But yeah, I would recommend doing that. I mean, it's looking pretty good. I feel very confident about this. Um, my Patriots let me down. I will crash out. I'm just saying that now.
I don't blame
Um, but yeah, thank you for joining us for our first show.
you. Yeah,
Um,
been fun.
yeah,
It's been fun. First time.
yeah,
First of many. Yeah.
yeah. First of many, and
We'll see you.
remember that not everything in sports is black and white.
We'll see you next time.